Hello again, grade 9s. We're back. It is Monday, March 23rd, and we are now officially teaching from my home. So I'm not going to give you a look around, but I figure, I'm going to move my mouse there. I figure I would let you know that here I am at home, and I hope that the bulk of you are also doing the same and staying home during this time. It's a little bit weird of a time. This has never really happened before, where schools are closed and people are learning from home. But uh, it's important that we take these precautions just so that our healthcare system doesn't get kind of bogged down with people getting just a little bit sick or maybe a lot sick. So let's switch back to math now. On Friday, no, I think it was Thursday, we talked a little bit about ratios. And if you remember, we said that ratios we were comparing, sorry, I'll put a couple of dots here. Ratios, we were comparing two numbers, and it was relatively straightforward. Like we said, if we had a pond, if we had two ponds, and we had 5 fish, and I'll just do a really quick job this time. Right, all we had to do was outline what was the ratio of fish to pond. Ratio of fish to the ratio of pond to the number of ponds. We had 5 fish to 2 ponds, which we could write as 5 to 2, or 5 to 2, or 5/2, if that seems all familiar. So, going forward, we're going to probably deal a lot more with the fraction-looking version of the ratio unit. Going forward, we're going to be talking about something that's slightly different, so I'm going to slide my page up just a little bit. Now we're talking about proportions. I'm going to switch colors just for fun. There we go. So, proportions. So, if a ratio is comparing two numbers, a proportion compares two ratios. Okay, so what might that look like? So let's just say we had one pond here by itself. Okay, and in that one pond there are, I'll use blue, there are 2 fish. Okay. Over here I'll draw a second pond. Second pond and the third pond. So let's consider these to be somewhat separate. We have our one pond here with 2 fish, and then here is a pair of ponds with 4 fish. Perfect. So we could write this as, let's see, ponds to fish, it'd be 1/2, and over here our pond to fish ratio would be 2/4. Perfect. So the question is, are these two things equivalent? And what does equivalent mean? Equivalent means essentially, are they equal? If we were to reduce them, like we were doing a little bit earlier in the year, if we reduce them, would they reduce to the same number? If they do, which these ones in fact do, right? 1/2 is equal to 2/4 or 2/4. If they do, then that is a proportion. And just another way to visualize that, as we might have done before, is we had a square and an exactly equal size square over here, approximately equals a square there. If we cut this into half and we shade in half, and we cut this one into quarters and we shave in 2/4, and they are in fact equal. So you can see that with some reduction they are equal, and in fact the word that we're using now is equivalent. So these are equivalent fractions or equivalent ratios. It is an equivalent proportion. Perfect. So going forward from here, all we're going to be doing is, for today, we're going to be checking if a bunch of different proportions are in fact equivalent. So one of the examples from right near the beginning is is 1/3 equal to 2/6 a proportion. Excellent question. So we could try to draw a picture. It might get a little bit hairy though if we try to draw a picture for every single thing, because when it starts to say things like 1/12 or 1/36 or 1/64, it gets way too small for us to chop up into little pieces. So instead, I'm going to give you one mathematical way to solve this. It's kind of like a little bit of a trick. Today and then tomorrow I might mention a different one as well. So for today, if those fractions are equivalent, we'll have a proportion. So let's see, we're going to use something called, and you're going to hear about this a lot through high school, something called cross multiplying. Okay, so cross multiplying is one of the ways that we can check if this ratio, if this pair of ratios is a proportion. So let's see, we have 1/3 and we have 2/6. What does cross multiplying look like? Well, what we do is we take our numerator and denominator from each separate side. So let's see, our 1 and our 6, and our 2 and our 3, and we put them together. And we'll put it as simple as that. And remember, it's called cross multiplying. So when we put them together, we're going to put them together with a multiplication symbol. So our 1 and our 6 go together. Let's put those together. 1 times 6. The question is that equal to, let's put these together, 2 times 3? I don't know, so let's find out. We can use our calculator, but in this situation, I don't know if we need one. 1 times 6 is 6. And 2 times 3, that is 6 as well. Perfect. So, is this a proportion? It sure is. So, in the questions on page 76, it will say, just write yes or no if it is a proportion, and we can say yes, it is a proportion. Another way that we can do this, arguably a little bit faster, I'll show you right now, is we can just simply say, well, we have 1/3 equal to 2/6, and in this situation we probably would want to use our calculator, and suddenly I can't find mine, but I will use my phone calculator like I'm sure many of you do. Here we are, and 1 divided by 3 is equal to 0.33. Repeater, and if it's repeating, you can just put that line on top, and I'll leave that there. And 2 divided by 6 is also equal to 0.33 repeater. So that's another way that we can solve it. Just keep those two things in mind. They are different. Make sure that if you're using one, that you stick to that one, and make sure that if you're using the other, you stick to the other. And for now, I will upload the questions for you to do, I believe that they are the ones on page 76 and the top part of 77 as well. Otherwise, thank you very much. Have a good day, and I hope you guys are staying inside and staying happy and healthy.